Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Just behind me here in this jungle lies 4 of my apple trees. In today's video we're going to find them and using chop and drop techniques open up the canopy and then give them plenty of mulch. This is what I call my bottom swale. It was dug along with the others in 2019. I did plant it out with productive trees and plenty of support at that time and have been adding in other plants along the way. And one of the main purposes of the support species is to provide lots of woody mulch for the system. In my last chop and drop video in this swale, I cut this tree, which is a robinia, and it's starting to grow again beautifully. And I also chopped the acacias. Now, one of the support trees that I didn't want to chop at that point were the tagasastes, which were fully in bloom and feeding all my bees at the end of winter. So now has come the time when they're mostly in seed, so it's a good idea to kind of thin those out and at the same time open up the light for my apple trees. As you can see with this acacia, I did chop it just at that point there, which was the top of the plant at that point. But since then we've had an amazing amount of growth, which is why these trees are so great as support species, providing lots of mulch for the productive trees. We could just about do another chop and drop on these acacias, but I won't today for the reason that I like to leave some trees so that they can shade areas of my pasture for the animals through summer. This apple tree is my Granny Smith apple and it's not too bad in terms of being shaded out. I will be trimming this acacia just a little bit to make sure it's got plenty of space on that side. And I'll do a little bit of a chop on this small tagasasti next to it, but there's really not a lot I need to do here. What I will do, however, is trim some of the tagasastes that are further down, just to provide plenty of woody mulch for this tree. Another thing I find at this time of year is the grasses just take off. Now, if you recall, I did have a cover crop when I first built these swales that actually failed. It was planted at the wrong time just because of the time that the swales were dug, which was beyond my control, and also wild ducks ate all the seeds. So these grasses have been with us ever since. But what I find when the trees are this size, I just trample down the grasses and then pile all the woody mulch on top. And with the trampling, that kind of gets the grasses under control and it doesn't take too much effort to do that. It's also a fairly easy method for ensuring some of these younger plants aren't inundated at this time of year. If I'm out and about, I've always got these feet with me and I can just trample that down and make sure they're still getting plenty of life and not getting lost within all that growth. It just means I can do something without having to worry about what equipment I've got on me at the time. Believe it or not, underneath there, right next to the soil, is last year's woody mulch that's rotting down nicely and being great food for the fungi that's going to help improve this soil. I'm just going to make a start with this tagasasti, just cutting some of these longer branches so that I can use that as mulch for my apple tree. And on that side of the swale, I don't need to worry about the shading effect of these plants. Easter's over there, so the shade is in the morning when the animals really don't need so much. That tagasasti's been given a nice haircut now, so we just need to trim this acacia to give my apple tree some growing room. Plenty of room there to grow now. Well, it looks like there's quite a bit of mulch there. A lot of it is leaf, which will drop off and get down to the ground. So there's not too much in the way of branches. So we might just sneak down and pinch some more branches from these trees down there. Okay, that's just a little bit taken from these trees. I'll leave the rest of this mulch for my macadamia trees. While we're up at this end of the farm, there was something that I wanted to show you all today. This is little Bella. Little Bella was born in the early hours of this morning. She is a full Dexter, unlike her sister Daisy here, who's a Dexter Jersey cross. Daisy likes to come and say hello. G'day, Daisy. How are you doing, darling? We've come to see your sister, not you. Yeah, good on you. Oh, oh. It's good to get that dry skin layer off. Bit of a cow's tongue. Okay, that'll do. That'll do. Thank you. Hello. Are you going to come over and say hello like your sister did? Now, while I'm thinking of giving Daisy a new home somewhere else, little Bella, full-on Dexter girl, may find herself a home here permanently as another mum around the place. But we'll wait and see what happens. That's all the milk bottles right there. What do you reckon, Daisy? Oh, move, move. Little one, oh. She missed her, I think. Huh? You nearly pooed on your child. Daisy, get back. Back. Okay, after that slight distraction, we'll get on to tree number 2, which is just through here. This tree here is a Cox's Orange Pippin apple, which is supposed to be a great eating apple, although I haven't had any apples from this tree as yet, and it doesn't look like I'll be getting any this year either, which is one of the main reasons I want to really clear the space around these trees and make sure they get plenty of light, because it might have affected the flower production for this year. But we're still building the system, and we're really looking at future years and making sure that we've got a fertile system so that the years following should all give plenty of production. So we're going to chop this Tagersastia at the back here. Also around this tree, I've got a few productive species just in shrubs. I've got some black currants, I've got some Jerusalem artichokes, and I've also got some rhubarb. So I might just do a quick chop and drop of the grasses around those and make sure the grass is right down on the ground rather than just trampling it. I'm just going to start by clearing around these little plants so that I know where they are, and so I'm less likely to trample on them. Well, that's looking a bit better for all of those little plants now. And it's also revealed the entrance to a home of a new resident in the Swale. You can see down there, that is the home to a wombat. Hopefully it only wants the one home and isn't going to be digging up any more burrows in this swale. And not content with a front entrance, he or she has also added in a back entrance to the burrow as well. So that is fantastic. Hopefully it hasn't killed my Tagersastia tree. Well, at least it's the Tagersastia, it's under and not my apple tree. The next thing we've got to do here is decide how much of this big Tagersastia we're going to take down. I might give it a fairly good haircut actually, really open this up a bit. Although I do want to be a bit mindful of the wombat. It's its home as well, so I don't want to let in too much of the rain that it's kind of protected its burrow from, I think. So I'm just going to sneak in around the back here and just cut out a couple of these branches. Ooh, it's a bit tight, this space. It's starting to feel a bit brighter around this tree, but I've still got a bit to go. Just those branches that kind of overhang it. I'll try and get those as well. Again, to give it plenty of growing space as well as the light. We've got quite a bit of that side of the tree down. Enough to keep this apple tree happy, I think. And plenty for ground coverage as well. I have kind of draped a little bit down on all these diggings from the Wombat. Now, something that I did want to talk about was the fact that Tagersastii in some areas is invasive. It has mountains of these little seed pods on them, which when they're ripe, they split open and spread their seeds far and wide. Now, if I had a lot of bare soil, like what I've got going here, those seeds might grow and you'd find trees everywhere. But because most of my swales, where I grow my Tagersastii, is more like this, with tons of grass all over it, those seeds really don't get started. And I haven't actually found any volunteer Tagersastiis around my property as yet. So I think with that, we're on to our third tree. Our third tree, just in here, is hiding in the jungle on the other side of that big Tagersastii tree and the Wombat burrow. So we're just going to have to bush bash our way in there, I think, unless we go in through another way, which might be easier. Okay, that's some macadamia trees that aren't going so well. There's a few leaves coming on them, but they seem to not like the winters to get established in. And here's our third apple tree, again with quite a bit of overhead coverage that we'll need to remove, and it's got a few black currant plants around it as well. So we will be taking some of that same Tagersastii tree down on the other side of that tree to provide some mulch for this one. Now, I can't quite remember the name of this fruit tree, this apple tree. I'll put it on the screen if I find it. These are the first fruit coming on it, although I think the birds already enjoyed some. Now, compared to the fruit trees in my kitchen garden, which have had a whole lot of support in the way of woody mulch and probably a better soil in that area, these ones are a little bit slower. But again, once we get the system going and the soil correct, these trees will start to produce like those other trees. I'll just make a start by trampling this down a bit, laying it flat, so we can sort of create a bit of a workspace really. With that trampled down, you can sort of see what we've got down at the base of the tree. There is still some woody mulch from last year's prunings that's down here, but then you've got quite a bit of bare soil too. So with the mulch that we're going to put down today, the leaves will dry out and they'll drop through kind of all the branchy litter and cover that soil, which will be perfect for summer to help keep the moisture in. But in the area where we've got the grasses on top, that'll start to decompose and add to the soil as well. Almost getting lost under this Tagersasti is this black currant plant, which will really benefit from a bit of extra light as well. That's enough space there. But having a look at this tree, which actually looks like it's on the way out, it doesn't look very vigorous. I do find they die fairly quickly. We'll just take off a few branches kind of on this side just to open that side up. Maybe we could take that whole branch out actually. Frequin Rouge is the name of this tree, which I've just remembered. It's supposed to be a good apple for cider making. Now, not far from our Frequin Rouge apple, we've got a Bonza apple, which is just beyond the Robinia and that Tagersasti over in the distance. So you can kind of just make it out at the back there. So we'll do a little bit of bush bashing to get through here. And here's our Bonza apple. It's got a few little flowers on it, but signs that my cow Daisy might have had a nibble. Once again, it is about establishing these trees. I'm not so worried in the early days about their production. We also have some black currants. There's 2 rhubarbs which have been in the ground for ages, but they're really not happy in this spot. I think the soil started off not great and it's just slowly getting there. And just in amongst the grasses somewhere over there, yeah, you can see that there's another black currant plant. And all of a sudden, it feels heaps better. Okay, I'll get to chopping this lot up now and get some mulch around my tree. And now to get this side. Plenty of light there now for this Bonza apple. My 4 apple trees are cleared and mulched. I do find when working my swales, because they're so large, it helps just to pick a bit of a project like clearing apple trees. It means you can break things up into little projects and do it bit by bit, and eventually you get on top of everything. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.